I want to show you the only SEO technical audit you'll ever need. It's a complete mega deep dive to find out any technical errors or any issues you might have with a website. And for this tutorial, I'm going to do a complete live SEO technical audit. You can get an over-the-shoulder view of exactly how I go about it, my sort of mega technical audit checklist, and the tools and things I'm looking for. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to take this technical audit technique and start practicing it on your own websites. And even once you're confident with everything, start offering it as a service to clients to give technical recommendations for their SEO processes. Let's jump straight in. Welcome to my mega technical SEO audit checklist spreadsheet. This is going to guide you through the process, and we're going to go through this step by step today, everything, and I'm going to explain everything as we go along, so you have a full understanding of what everything means and how you can check it on a website. Before we get started, you will need a couple of tools. You can do this mainly with free tools. The first one is Google Search Console. You need Google Search Console because this is where we're going to check for a lot of errors, and check for issues that sort of are apparent in Google, and this is a free tool, and it's as close as you're going to getting an understanding of Google's brain and how it thinks about your website. The second thing we need is Screaming Frog. Up to 100 pages, this is free to use. So for a lot of websites, it might actually do the job, but the licensed one gives you sort of unlimited pages. But this is going to help you do a technical audit and deep dive across a whole website. Looks a little bit technical and intimidating at first, but once you get to understand how it works, it's quite easy. And if you can't find anything you need in there, then you can Google it, ask ChatGPT, find a YouTube video to guide you through that. But hopefully we're going to go through most of this stuff today. So Screaming Frog, or you can use one called Sitebulb, which is a little bit, I guess, more user-friendly. Don't think it has a free version though. I've also got SEMrush set up, but you could use Ahrefs, or you could do without either of these auditing tools, basically. This is just going to give us a bit more user-friendly flag for errors and warnings and things to check through. A lot of people will just rely on these for their audits, but they're kind of a bit surface level, so it's not going to be able to do the whole job that we need to do. So those are the tools that you can use to do this. There's a couple of other free platforms that we can use, but in the main, we're going to be using those and just our own eyes and brain to spot everything, basically. So why is this audit being performed? Well, on this site, our website traffic is crashing. We're losing a lot of traffic, and I want to know, is there a technical error, or is there a reason that we're losing this traffic that we haven't spotted that's obvious? So we're going to go through this step by step, over the shoulder, and I'm going to explain everything as I go along so you can start using this too. We're going to answer the questions. We're going to put our responses in here and make any notes that we then need to go and action or deep dive even further to find out what's going on. So the next question is, was this website recently migrated from another platform or server? You might need to ask clients or the website owners for this. On this one, no, we didn't have a recent migration. Just zoom out a little bit there. And what was the reason? Again, this is not applicable, but you might want to put the reason in there. If there's a particular reason they migrated, might be really important to know for the work you're doing. If a migration was performed, was there a drop in rankings? We have had a drop in rankings, but it's not due to a migration. That's a really common one after a website migration, where you change hosts or you just have a site rebuilt, redesigned. You can lose traffic, and that could just be natural variance, but it could also be the developers making a friggin' hash, an absolute pig's ear of the URL structures or getting the migration right, and it might have crushed some SEO rankings. That's really common. When did it take place, the migration? Doesn't matter because that's not what we're talking about. Are there any crawls pre-migration? Useful information for benchmarking, or if you want to compare before and after to see were these errors there, what were the ongoing issues, have they been fixed, or are they still there, that sort of thing. Give you some more background. Next thing, do you or the client have access to the WordPress dashboard? Yes, we do, or your CMS that you're going to be working in. Does the client have access, or you have access to the DNS settings? Yes, we do on this. Probably won't need it, but useful to have just in case we need to check something there. Is Google Tag Manager being used? Right, our first check. So we can go to our website if we want to find out if Google Tag Manager is being used, and we can right click and we can click View Page Source. Then we can hit Command or Control F and literally type into there Tag Manager. And that would flag up and take you on the page to where the Tag Manager bit of code is in the header of this website. This doesn't have it, otherwise it would flag, I guess, near like this, Google Tag Manager. This is just a Google tag that's on this site actually that we stumbled across. That's just your Google Analytics. So it's it's good to have Google Analytics. We don't have Tag Manager on there. Tag Manager is going to allow us to track more things and sort of track user journeys, capture data, things like that, any actions that are being taken. On this site, it doesn't have it. I'm not too concerned about it because it's not so important for us, but you might want to get that installed if you know there's a lot more data analysis or data you want to capture, tags you want to fire through a site. Do we have access? No. To Tag Manager? No, because it's not relevant here. Do you have access to Search Console? Yes, we do. That's important because we're going to do a lot of our work in Google Search Console. And actually, is Google Search Console connected and does it have data? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Very important, because if it's only just connected and it doesn't have a lot of data in there, if you don't have the performance traffic, if you don't have the crawl stats, all that sort of thing, you're not really going to be able to analyze a website using it. So if it doesn't have a lot of data in there, then you need to give it some time. You need to give it maybe a few weeks to start collecting data, at least a few days to get itself organized if you've only just installed it. Do you or the client have privileges to Google Analytics? Yes, we do. We've got a Google Analytics access here. Is Google Analytics connected? Yes. Does Universal Analytics have data? We don't really need this in here anymore. That was the previous Google Analytics system, which doesn't run anymore. So that's not really applicable. Google Analytics 4, which is what just Google Analytics is now. If you've got Google Analytics access, that'll be Google Analytics 4. We've got that. It does have data in there. Again, important. If it's connected, if it's like installed, but it's not collecting any data, we know we've already got an issue because for some reason our analytics isn't collecting data. But we do have that. That's an obvious thing to check. You just go into analytics and see, like, yeah, we do have data in there. You can see the month before, actually, we didn't have data in there. So that would be a problem. But I can see it's running now, and I know it's running fine now. Crawling, right, let's get really stuck into stuff now. Crawling related checks. This is basically saying, looking at what search engines can crawl and read on our site and what they can't. So really, really important part. And, if pages up can't even be indexed or crawled, then like it's kind of irrelevant, the rest of the stuff. So this is always the best place to start. So is there a robots.txt file? We can easily check if there's a robots.txt file. You go to the website that you're auditing's homepage, and you're just going to drop in there. You're going to put /robots.txt. And this is going to bring up the robots.txt file if it has one. You can see here it does have one. There's not much in there. The robots.txt file is like, it issues guidance to a robot or a search engine crawling your website to tell it like what you want it to do, or usually what you don't want it to crawl. You can put stuff in there, you say, hey, I don't want this, stuff is irrelevant, you don't need to bother looking at it, basically. But anyway, we can see that yes, we do have that. Our crawlers or search engines are being blocked in the robots.txt. No, they're not. We saw there wasn't anything in there that was showing it was being blocked. Are paginated URLs being blocked in the robots.txt file? No, we're not blocking anything in there. Paginated pages are the little numbers under a blog or product category page or something like that, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the next or previous buttons that bring up the next set of blog posts or products in a category. Some people like to block them in a robots.txt. There's not really any need to block them from being crawled unless they're flagging up a lot of just duplicate content pages posting the same stuff out there. Otherwise, they're fine to be crawled, really. Are JavaScript files being blocked? No, we're not blocking anything in there. And does the robots.txt file disallow parameterized URLs? No, we saw it didn't do that either. Parameterized URL are bits of extra information on the end of a URL. It might be a question mark for an added bit of search or query. It might be a hash in there for £, for dropping you into anchor tags, or what else can we get in there? It just sort of helps customize and filter content through a page as well for browsers and search engines. Basically, you might want to disallow them sometimes if again it's just flagging up a lot of like pointless pages or areas or bits of or customized filtered content. Sometimes it's great though, because you can get sort of very specific stuff indexed from Google as well. Are there any host status problems reported in Search Console crawl stats? So Search Console crawl stats, we can go into Google Search Console and scroll down to settings. And here you're going to find in settings, you're going to find here crawl stats. We can see from this site we've had 1.73k crawls crawl requests in the 90 days, how many times Google has crawled this website. And you can see something interesting here, actually, in this, is that it is being crawled, and we had a pretty low crawl rate, and then suddenly we went bang, high crawl rate, 281, and it dropped out. We had something missing. And I think for this site, actually, Google Search Console was disconnected. But I'm interested to know, our traffic has been slammed. We went from here, we got disconnected from Google Search Console and then reconnected. And although we have more crawl requests than we've kind of got a weird error. Has host had problems in the past? Although Google hasn't faced any recent difficulty crawling, though this wasn't the case earlier, look into the problematic topics below. So, interestingly, this could be an interesting reason as to why our traffic's been struggling. We had a big fail request, or we didn't get anything in there. The robots.txt was fine. The DNS resolution was fine. Described whether Google encountered DNS issues when crawling your site. Server connectivity describes whether Google encountered connectivity issues when crawling your site. Connectivity error rates are considered a problem if they exceed baseline value for the day. So it's not been high in the past, but we've had an acceptable fail rate. But again, was this due to Search Console being disconnected? But Google should still be crawling our site. But it seems like there's server connectivity issues coming through, which is a problem if Google and users can't actually connect to the site. But also, this error could be a reason for this traffic. I'm not sure this is the reason, so I'm just putting notes in the side here so that when I come to maybe add this to work we need to do on the site or things we need to check again, or maybe speak to developers, it's going to be something that I can either dig down into further if I think it's an actual issue, which I'm not sure it is the reason our traffic has dropped off, to be fair, but it's definitely worth noting and discussing further, maybe with a developer, or monitoring, is there any problems with the hosting of our website that's stopping connections coming through. So I need to go and actually investigate that further after this audit. That's going to go in my notes of things I need to go and dig deeper and look at. Next one, are there crawl requests being made as reported in Search Console crawl stats? So are there crawl requests? Yes, there are. We can see that, although there was a miss. There was a missing section. So again, yes, but we had a missing section after a massive spike. Need to keep an eye on this. So again, I think I know the reason that there was a disconnection of our Search Console, but which stopped the data coming through. But there's spike is weird. That again, I need to keep an eye on that and see if anything else flags as an issue, particularly with our hosting that's limiting anything or causing issues, basically. But yes, essentially we do have crawl requests being made. Are there crawl requests? I'm struggling to say requests, aren't I? Being made for the refresh purposes in Google Search Console stats. So in crawl stats here, we can scroll down and we can start to see different types of crawls and responses. So what were we looking at? We were looking at by refresh. So we can see by purpose here, by refresh. And you can see that's the majority of these crawls and what those are. That is essentially, it's not Google discovering new content. It's going and re-looking at the same content over and over again. We want that to be happening, which we can see it does. We have got those requests. Are requests being made for discovery purposes? Yes, we do, although they're a lot smaller. But this site hasn't been updated a lot recently, so there's nothing much new for it to discover. Again, we've got that gap in there, which we know about. And actually, interestingly, we're getting 0 on this site all the time until the last week. And then we get a spike, and then it's back to 0. So are we getting crawl discovery requests? Yes, but they are intermittent and can go weeks without any. So that's an issue for Google. Really doesn't see any reason to discover new things on our site. So maybe that's a nod to say, we need to be updating the site with fresh content to be discovered, to encourage that crawl, basically, because otherwise we're not getting any fresh sort of relevance and sort of authority coming through, which again, another issue for why this site was performing well and has taken a bit of a hit. It's just sat there collecting dust, really. According to Google's Search Console, crawl stats have HTML files been crawled in the last 72 hours. So again, we can go back to our by file type here, HTML files, which are our web pages essentially. Again, we've got that gap in there, but yes, those are being crawled nicely for this site. So yes, again, I know that I'm not going to keep saying, hey, we had that gap, but we need to make sure that wasn't an issue. Right, so we've sort of found there might be some issues in the crawl stats, which we might need to discuss and dig a little bit deeper to see if, or keep an eye on as we progress and make some changes into how often we're publishing new content. Does the website have a sitemap? So to find a sitemap for WordPress, you should be able to go to your URL /sitemap.xml, and that's going to actually can forward you on to sitemap_index.xml. You can see this has a Yoast sitemap in here, which is great. Sitemap is literally a map. It's a list of all the URLs and pages on your site, or it should be, that you want Google to know about an index. And it's just a really easy way for Google to find new stuff or find updates of your site. It's not always that necessary for smaller sites because there's other ways that it can sort of find your website pages. But basically, every time I publish a new page, it goes into the sitemap and Google will read that and say, hey, this has got a new page for me to look at. But you can see here, actually, in the sitemap, you can see everything was published all at once for this site. You can see, which is might be why we were saying, like, actually, everything got published at once, and now we're not getting much more refreshed discovery searches from Google, which might be hurting us. Not getting any benefit of content freshness. So yes, there is a sitemap. Sitemap is XML, and that is what we want it to be for search engine to crawl. Is the sitemap index URL referenced in the robots.txt file? Remember, we went into robots.txt before /robots.txt, and you can see sitemap / so yeah, it is referenced in there. You want that in there, just makes it easier for search engines to find. Like, just give them what they want, you know. How many URLs are in the sitemap? So we've got 298 plus 7, 305 plus categories. So 309 URLs in the sitemap, just for reference. We know it's not hugely overlogged with tens of thousands of URLs in there. Are there more than 1,000? No. The bigger a sitemap, then it's like, are we overloading Google with things to crawl? Non-indexable URLs in the sitemap. That's an interesting one too. So we can go into Screaming Frog, and when this is the first time you've crawled with Screaming Frog, you simply put your URL in the top here, start your crawl. You can tweak some settings, but most of the time you can get most of what you need in there. And it's going to come back, and what's cool is it's going to give you this set of errors and warnings and opportunities on the right, which you can go through and make notes on. But we can go in here and find sitemaps, and this is our sitemaps basically, and it's going to tell us if there's any non-indexable URLs in the sitemap. Now we can see in the status here, we can see actually we do have some non-indexable URLs in the sitemap. We've got these 4 pages are 301 redirects, which means they're being redirected to another page of our website, and they are being listed in our sitemap as pages. So if we open that up in a browser, we can see that 200 watt solar panel here, but actually we've got in our sitemap over here, we've got best 200 watt solar panel. So actually we can take these and add them to our technical audit here, and we said yes, we do. That's a problem because we don't want non-indexable URLs in our sitemap. We say, so I'm going to put those in the notes there because this needs fixing as to why they're in there basically. Remember, this is just an audit, so I'm not going and fixing everything right now. These are what I'm going to be adding for actions to take later basically. URLs are all 301 index, but are in the sitemap. So we can add our notes there. So when we're referring back, we're like, okay, that's an action we need to go and fix, or give to our developer or technical person to fix for us. Are there URLs that are blocked in robots.txt that are found in a sitemap? We know that there aren't. We just looked at these are the only non-indexable URLs in our sitemap by Screaming Frog as well. Which, remember, you just hit this drop down, go to sitemaps, and then it's going to give you all sitemaps. There are tabs in here that you can go and filter these by those exact setups, but also you can just run and use the filters on the side here to go and find out what different page status through here. We've not got masses of different things to search through here, but there are filters built into Screaming Frog as well. So no, there are not URLs blocked in there. We know that in the robots.txt in the sitemap. Have sitemaps been submitted to Google Search Console? This is a great one that people miss, is making sure Google knows about your sitemap so that when you add new pages or update it, or it can just know about every page on your website you want indexed. In Google Search Console, you've got sitemaps here, and you can see here you can add your sitemap at the top. So Google Solar Company / Cornwall Solar Company / sitemap _.xml I'd put in there, submit it, and you can see here I've got them locked in. I've got them in here, the sitemap.xml. I've actually got post-sitemap in there as well because we did have an issue with it finding it before, but it knows all about all of our pages in Google Search Console. So if you've not got yours submitted, make sure you're going and submitting it to Google Search Console. Has Google Search Console processed the sitemap successfully? Yes, it has. Status success. If it says failed, then you've got an issue that needs fixing there. Can internal search URLs be crawled? Now, internal search URLs. So internal search URLs are ones that come up / and they have a question mark and s equals. So query search equals and then the word that's been searched. So this is the page that comes up on this website if you have a search. And to see if that is actually going to be indexable, the search results, you can right click and hit view page source and then Command or Control F to search on the page and literally type in no index here. And you should see at the top anyway, high at the top, you should see the meta robot instruction and content should be no index. We don't want search pages indexed in Google search results because it can lead to a lot of issues. It can lead to, firstly, just like hundreds of thousands of pages being indexed, which are just sort of search finish pages that serve no value and are just a waste of time. Plus, people can abuse them, and you can end up with all sorts of horrible things that people have been searching in URLs that people have been searching and index on your site. So it is open to abuse as well. So we don't want those indexed. So on to the next section, rendering. This is going to find out if there's any issues or problems with actually a site being loaded, and we're going to find out if there's any errors. Kind of simple. Is there a trend of increasing submitted URLs? Seems to be a soft 404 is when a website or a server responds with a status that says this page is status 200 and it's okay and it should load as a response, but actually no page actually exists. So either it's meant to be a complete 404 and no page exists, or there's content missing on that page, or the page has sort of disappeared for some reason that needs fixing. Pretty sure we don't have that. I've just put no, but I should double check. So you can go into Search Console and you can click Pages, scroll down, and you should see why pages aren't indexed, and it should say soft 404. If that had this error, it doesn't have a soft 404 error anywhere, so I know I don't have that error to fix. What theme is being used? We're actually using GeneratePress. Are there any issues with this theme? Not to my knowledge from what I've researched. It might be worth, if I had more time and we weren't live auditing, go and actually do some research to see if there's any ongoing issues with that. Does it use a page builder? No, we're not using a page builder. Does it have known issues? No, that could be Elementor or Divi or things like that. Is lazy loading applied to above the fold images? We can actually then go to Google PageSpeed Insights and start looking at the way images are loaded on the site. So I might just pick a random page, or I'd probably test a few pages here. And if you go into PageSpeed Insights, you put the page or the URL you want to test and click Analyze. This is a free tool from Google that analyzes page speed, but it's also going to give you lots more information about errors on a page, basically. So we can let that run for a second and look at some other things. Does the primary navigation menu load when JavaScript is disabled? So what we're saying is Google prefers to render and look at things in HTML, not JavaScript. So when the page is loading, does JavaScript affect this loading? Now, to do that, you can go into your Chrome and settings and turn JavaScript off in your settings. So in my settings here on Brave browser, which is similar to Chrome, we could say don't allow sites to use JavaScript, and then we could go back to this page, refresh it, and see yes, it all loads fine, our header and everything there with JavaScript. So that's fine. We pass that test. If we're not loading properly with JavaScript, we might need to do some work on the site to say that, hey, we need to use less JavaScript because it's not loading for search engines properly. Our Lighthouse is still, or our PageSpeed Insights is still running. Is all the body content visible when JavaScript is disabled? Yes, it is. We haven't refreshed the page since there. So again, want to make sure all our content is viewable when JavaScript is disabled, because Google's not going to see it. If you're loading content in your website in JavaScript, search engines aren't going to be able to see that. So that's really important you're not doing that. I think I read like Lovable, the AI app building tool. It builds things in JavaScript, which means it's not rendering for search engines to actually read. So it's a real problem for that app ranking on those apps ranking on Google. Right, indexing related. Things to check. Does the website rank in the top 2 positions when searching the brand name in Google? So we're going to open up a new private tab and we're going to say the brand name is Cornwall Solar Company, and we can scroll down here. Yes, we're in the map pack here, which is great, but we don't rank for our own brand name anywhere. So this is an issue. We've got a real problem with this site that we're being burnt by Google at the moment. So we need to make some decisions for this, but basically, no, we don't rank for our brand name. No top 30 ranking for the brand name. So we're not a trusted entity in Google, clearly, at the moment, or there's a no, something else isn't indexing properly. So there's some serious work need to be done on brand awareness, basically, on the long and short of it. Does the HTTP redirect to HTTPS? Still loading on that PageSpeed Insights, by the way. So does HTTP load to HTTPS? So you can see here in our URL, we've got HTTPS. Now, the non-secure version of this protocol is HTTP. And if someone was to type in or click a link that was http:// without the HTTPS instead, we need to make sure that automatically redirects to the HTTPS version, like this with the S in there. Because otherwise we've basically got 2 duplicates of our site, one unsecure one secure one. So if we just go and type that HTTP : without the S in there, hit enter, we can see, yes, it has redirected it automatically to the S version of. So we actually don't need to use the extension for that. We can check that manually. Is the site www. or non-www? So this site does not have www. in front of it, the URL. Some sites do, some sites don't. That's kind of a choice that people make, or different CMS. So we're a non-www. Now we need to know if www, which we're not, if non-www by default, does the www redirect to the non-www? Saying a lot of W's there, but I think you catch my drift. If we put in www.cornwallsolarcompany.com and hit enter and try and load that page, we can see it has taken us to the non-www version, which again is what we want, so we don't have duplicate versions of our site. So that's good. We don't have an issue there. And this is really important, by the way, because these are all different parameters of a URL, but all these differences, Google treats them as different pages and different websites. So if you have a trailing slash or a www that isn't redirecting, it's creating 2 versions of a page, basically, which is not good. These are all counted as different pages by Google, basically. So next one, do URLs end in a trailing slash or non-trailing slash? So for this site, we are non-trailing slash. We don't have the slash on the end there like that. And you can guess what the next question is going to be. We're non-trailing slash and we're not trailing slash. If we do not have a trailing slash by default, do URLs with a trailing slash redirect? So let's try it out. We've put the extra trailing slash on the end there, hit enter, and yes, we do forward to the non-trailing slash. I've had this error before and it's hideous because it just ends up with so many errors and so many extra pages and chaos and duplicate content on a site that is something that a lot of people miss. Are there any orphan URLs in the sitemap? We can use Screaming Frog. It would flag this error, or, sometimes I'll just check this error really quickly in like SEMrush because it should come up with it pretty quickly in here. We can see here that we do have one orphan page in our sitemap, and it's the Our Partners page. So there's a partner page on our website that doesn't have any internal links, and this is quite important because an orphan page is a web page that is not linked internally, which is considered bad practice. It signals to Google that it's of low importance, doesn't really mean anything, and if it's valuable content, you want that to be linked for users, and you want that to be linked for search engines to carry sort of SEO juice from other pages and create this nice web of content on your website. Often pages kind of just they almost feel forgotten about and irrelevant. And if it's an important page, then we want to make sure that it is internally linked. So we need to go and make sure our partner page is actually linked up properly. For some reason, it's just sitting unattended. So partners page is orphaned. So that's something that we need to go and fix. Basically, it should be simple. We can probably just go and add it into our header here. In fact, I'll probably put that in the notes there, that we need to put add to header and footer. Boom, off we go. Simple fix. Are there 301 URLs in the sitemap? Yes, we did check that earlier, didn't we? Because we had that no index 301. See no indexed pages above for 301 sitemaps. Again, just adding obvious notes here that I've already checked that, so I can see that somewhere else. Are there 401s in the sitemap? No. Again, we went through and checked our sitemap actually already, and we already know that. How are sitemaps generated on the website? We already know they're dynamically made, which means they're automatically updated. They're not manually written by a human updating them every time. They're dynamically and automatically updated. So every time I publish a page or update a page, it updates the sitemap. So it's through Yoast. So if I change Yoast on the site, then I need to make sure that the sitemap sort of change is being carried over. Do any of the sitemaps in Google Search Console show errors? No. We checked that, sort of saw that earlier as well. We saw they all passed those sitemaps, success. But actually, I was a bit hasty with that one. Category and page sitemap can't be fetched, which might be why the post sitemap was put in there separately, because this might be interesting as to why our homepage and things and the brand isn't working so well. There's something going on here that needs deeper investigations. Are there any errors in Search Console index coverage? So in our index coverage, we want to go to page indexing, and we can see there are 216 regions that pages aren't indexed. Again, we might have an issue there. Discovered not currently indexed is 0. Ignore that for now. But that error means Google knows about a page, but it hasn't crawled or indexed it. It has done. Crawled currently not indexed. Now these are pages that Google has actually crawled, but they haven't indexed. So we can see a lot of them are feed pages, which is fine. They're just RSS feeds, or actually they're paginated ones, which again, not too bothered about. But what I am interested in is these blog posts here are not indexing for some reason, and I don't know why. Maybe just sheer volume of content we try to index all at the same time. We can check and have a little look at anything why. So it seems to say no referring sitemaps detected. So we might have an issue with sitemaps on this, although we did see that they were pulling the post sitemap. So actually, it might be worth doing a full comparison of all the pages we have on our website, all the URLs, and are they all in our sitemap? But then I can actually see referring page here that it is in post sitemap. So there's a bit of a mismatch here, but we can see actually there's probably no reason why this can't be indexed. So what I'm going to put here is several crawled not indexed. Need to index those blog pages ASAP, because there's stuff just not being indexed basically. So we can either go and request that through Google Search Console or use an indexing tool like a Mega Indexer to do that. What else have we got? We had some more errors in there. We had duplicate without selected user canonical. So actually we've got a PDF that is a duplicate of something and there's no canonical in there. Okay, so it's literally that's because it's a copied and pasted page from another, or a link out to another website. So that's actually not really an issue. It's one resource that we've linked to from another website PDF. That's not actually an issue. If you had a lot of duplicate without a user selected canonical that were referencing your own page or other websites, if it's other websites, you've got a lot of duplicate content from other websites. If it's within your own website, it means you've got a lot of duplicate pages and you've not selected a canonical in there, which tells Google, hey, this is the original page I want you to index, ignore the other ones. So you can see alternative page with proper canonical tag is the next one. These are all feed pages, so they're RSS feeds, and you can see that the canonical of these pages is actually the non-RSS feed. So that's actually is why those pages aren't indexed. It's because there's another page with the canonical tag that says, hey, we want to index this other page, not this one, which is fine. Pages with redirects. This might be interesting to, so these are the redirected pages that we saw that were listed in our sitemap. Some of these, the 200 watt solar panel one, that are 301, but we've actually spotted that those are in our sitemap earlier, so we know about that error, and we're going to look at that in another sort of subsection. So again, not too bothered by those. Excluded by no index tag. This is important because we want to know if anything on the site, maybe our homepage has a no index tag on it, and it's the reason why it's not showing up for our branded search. So we can actually say, like, how many have we got here? We've got 163 affected pages. So actually, are these all RSS feed pages that don't really matter? We might even turn the RSS feed off. Paginated pages, they're all just sort of feed pages. Our privacy policy could index that, I guess. It's not too important. It's not the reason we're failing, that's for sure. Again, author pages. Yeah, so, I mean, there's no pages in there that are no index that make a blind bit of difference to SEO. So we do have some errors, and we're particularly in that crawled, not indexed. We need to get all those blog pages indexed that aren't currently indexed. Are these errors expected? No. See above for those one that wasn't expected to happen. Are URLs marked as submitted URL blocked by robots.txt? No, we don't have that. We're not blocking anything by our robots.txt, so that's not coming up as a flag. Are there valid URLs reported in Search Console index coverage? Index coverage is view data about indexed pages. Yes, we got all of our relevant pages in there. I don't see anything. We could go through them all. There's a few hundred pages on this. Speed through that. There's no issues there. So we've got pages being indexed. Are there increasing number of URLs reported as indexed not submitted in sitemap? No, we didn't have that. We've not got anything indexed that's not in our sitemap. Are excluded URLs reported in search index console coverage? No, we haven't excluded URLs. So there's nothing indexed that actually was meant to be excluded. There's various ways that you could exclude something, but you could manually remove something to be requested to be removed from Google that might still be indexed. Is there a trend of increasing URLs reported as crawled currently not indexed? Yes, we do have that. Actually, this. I forgot this takes us through these errors bit by bit. Are discovered currently not indexed. We didn't have that; it disappeared. Which means that everything's been crawled at least, even if it's not being indexed. Excluded by, is there a trend of increasing URLs excluded by? It wasn't an increasing trend, so no, it was as standard. Duplicate without selected canonical, that was not increasing. What we're really looking at, like, are any of these errors increasing that might suggest something's been changed or something's up with our site, with the way Google's reading it? No, we're not seeing any of this increasing. It just is pretty static, and most of it is as it should be. So those aren't issues. Is Google Search Console, in Google Search Console performance, are clicks trending up, down, or staying steady in the last 16 months? I don't think we have 16 months of data here. We can go and select our date range, 16 months, which is the maximum for Search Console. And we can see actually from the 18th of November, we were trending up nicely. We were getting to 30, 40, 50 clicks a day. And then boom, an implosion, and we've gone down to 100 or 200 impressions a day as opposed to 3,000, and a lot of zero click days. So that would be a massive trending down from 50 per day to 0 per day. So that's a massive error that's what we're trying to figure out at the moment, I guess. Is Google Search Console interested? We're trending down as well on our impressions. So down, same as above. I don't need to put too much details in here because we can see what's happening pretty readily. Are there non-indexable URLs? Right, so in Screaming Frog again, we can look at if there is, we can go to just internal, and we can use this status code feature here, or we can go to even response codes. We can do it either way, it doesn't matter too much. We can click the status code here, and we can see any issues that are coming up. Particularly, we want internal, actually, rather than any external ones at the moment. So we can see here what status codes we've got. We've got move permanently, okay, and nothing else. So that's wonderful. We do have some stuff in there. Are there non-indexable? Are there any non-indexable URLs? The 301 redirects. We have the privacy page in there as well. page was no index. Should these URLs be set as no index? Yes, we might want to check those 301 redirects in search cons in here. Are they being redirected for a purpose? Yeah, that gets rid of the best word in there. And I'm interested in the blog page actually. Category batteries. Blog is a trailing slash there. I think that'll be why that's being redirected and no index. Yeah, so those are fine. Are there 301 redirects in place? Yes, we've discussed those. Are the redirects correct? Yes, we've checked those through. Are there any internal links pointing to 404 and 301 redirects? We can check this in a number of tools again. We could go into SEMrush would show me this one actually if we had any, and we would know about any chains, any redirect chains or loops. No redirect or canonical to HTTPS, HTTP pages. So we can say actually we don't have any chains, which are when an internal link is pointing to a URL, but that then is 301 to another page, and the crawlers and users have to go through extra steps, and it risks them dropping off and diluting SEO power and link juice and stuff. We want to make sure there's no either links pointing to dead internal pages or chained redirects. Basically, there's just no need for them, and they're going to hurt you in the long run. So, are there any redirect chains? No. Do URLs have canonicals set? Yes, we've already seen that URLs have canonicals. For example, if you go to view page source on any page, you should be able to Control F and canon. You can see the canonical here is self-referencing. https:/contact, that was the page. So I'm happy that those are in there. I won't go through a massive check on those now because I know they're there, but you might want to check through. You can use Screaming Frog again or SEMrush to check for all the different canonical sections on a page, but you can see here that contains canonical, all self-referencing, meaning they're pointing to themselves, and there aren't any errors coming up with those basically. So canonical tags are correct. Are internal search URLs indexable? No, we already checked that before, which is good. We don't want them indexed. If you remember, we found a search page, and did a view page source and searched for the no index query on there. How many indexable URLs does the website have? We had 308, I think, before was the number, wasn't it? In our sitemaps, how many URLs are indexed on Google? We can go to pages in Search Console. We can see how many pages are indexed. 26. Put that in there. So we know there's a mismatch, and we already spotted that, I think, pretty much in crawled currently not indexed. Did have 20 or odd pages in there that looked like they weren't indexed. So we can do the maths there. There's 31 pages that we need to find an index. How many low content pages exist? So search Screaming Frog should have content area to go through. Content, low content pages. So we can see these are our low content pages. You can select the filter here. There's duplicates and all sorts, soft fuzz. Again, you can sort of even get it to do lorem ipsum checks and things like that. Low content pages are actually just our blog paginated pages, which fine, I'm not too worried about that. This PageSpeed Insights, maybe we'll try and run this again because it stopped running. We never got round to that. We're going to have to go back and check that. Then we've got how many low content pages exist, or how many were there? There were 7 or something. Are the paginated? Does site operator show paginated pages in index? So for that, site operator is a command we can use in Google. If we go find a paginated page, which are indexable at the moment, we can see if they are actually being shown in Google. You go site, in Google search you put site, and then you put your URL there, and it's going to show whether they are indexable. These are indexable, you can see here. So that's, for big sites, you might not want them indexable because it might be a waste of crawl budget. For a blog area like this, it's fine to have them indexed. Honestly, it's more if you've got a huge e-com site it's ending up with lots of duplicate pages, essentially, that are all kind of the same. You might want to get rid of them from the index. So they're all indexed as well. Are paginated pages being canonicalized to the view all page? So if we go in here, we can see if there is any canonical pagination again. And we can see the canonical is self-referencing in this. No, it's self-referencing. Are all paginated pages being canonicalized to a root page? No. Do pages exist that don't exist return a 404 or 200 status code. So to find a page that doesn't exist, we can just literally go put some random characters in after the / there and see what happens. It's returning a 404. We could even check that status code in body there. Error 404 is being generated, so that's fine as it should be. We don't want it to send a 200 status codes because that's telling Google that this page is live and a real page when it's actually a dead page. Have URLs been submitted to the Google Search Console removal tool? So in Google Search Console, you've got removals, submitted requests. No, we don't have anything there. That's a tool that literally you can ask Google to remove a page. So if you're like, why isn't my page indexing and it's in this submitted request? Well, that's why. Does site operator show parameterized URLs in the search results? We can again use that site operator. We can actually, if you go to site operator, Cornwall, you put site : and then your website URL in there, it's going to give you, HTTPS, going to give you every page Google has on your website. And we can start to see here. So you got to make sure there's no gap in between it. Otherwise, it's going to give you everything with that site listed on. You could literally go through and check every page here to see what they are. And see, if there's a particular page you're looking for, you can put / in there. But actually, we can see that it's just indexing all of our normal pages. There's nothing else in the index there that we want. So it's not showing parameterized URLs in search results. Do all pages have H1s? Again, we can go to Search Console and we can see, we could just go to the H1 tag and we could say all, we could see, are there any missing in this H1 tag? This are your main headers. No, we don't have any missing there. So that's great. That's what we want. Are there any empty H1 tags? No, there weren't, I don't believe. It doesn't have empty in there. But we could go and check overview. H1's missing. Duplicate over 70 characters, multiple, alt text, non-sequential. So we don't really have any errors in our H1s there. So we can go through and we don't have multiple. Our title links the same. No. Can title links have different text as the H1? Yes, they can in our CMS. In WordPress, you can have a different H1 and you can change your title through a plugin like Yoast or RankMath. Are WordPress tags being used? I know we're not using tags on this site, and our tags. So you can actually check if tags are indexable in any number of ways. You can use Yoast for this. You go to your Yoast or RankMath plugin, whichever one you use on your WordPress, and you could go to settings maybe. And categories and tags. Here we can go to tags and we say show tags in search results. So yes, tags can actually be indexed. So we do use them and they are indexable. Now we're not using them, and to be honest, for a lot of sites, because people just bung so much nonsense in their WordPress tags thinking it's going to rank them for that keyword, that I'd probably turn them off just so you're not spewing out. Like there was one site that was spewing out thousands of them and it was just a waste of everyone's time and effort doing Google's. So no, we've just de-indexed them actually while we're there. So that's fine. They are available to use on the site. What we'll do is that's been saved. So we're making sure that that's not an error actually. Do WordPress tags have canonical URLs? Yes, they do, because they're generated through WordPress. WordPress categories being used? Yes. Are the categories indexable? I believe they are, yes, because we've seen a few of them. We can just check that Yoast as well, actually. But we know that they were indexable because we've not seen anything to the otherwise. Do WordPress categories have canonical tags? Yes, they do. Again, you can use that source code and show source and Command F and check the canonical tag settings in there. Does the business have a permanently discontinued products? No, because there's no ecom going on. Permanently discontinue stuff. You don't want to keep stuff indexing that you don't sell, but customers can't use. It's terrible UX, and it's just, if it's out of stock or not being used, and you don't want to index those pages. Can those URLs be reused or purposed? It's not applicable. You might want to reuse them for something else if they've got good SEO link structure, things like that. Or you might want to 301 redirect them to an old page, another page to pass on your backlink power, basically. Have permanently discontinued product URLs been marked as no index? Again, it's not relevant, but you want to no index or delete old pages that have no value anymore. If 301 redirects risk, do they point to relevant or irrelevant URL? You want to make sure if you do decide to redirect old pages, that they're going somewhere relevant, not just somewhere random. Make sure the user's ending up somewhere else relevant as well as the search engine. Right, rankings. Let's move on to the next section. How much further have we got to go? We've not got too much left, basically. Once we get through this section, we'll be flying through. So grab yourself a glass of water and take a break, and we'll get back to it. Do important service URLs have a descriptive anchor text in internal links pointing to them from multiple URLs? So your service URLs. So on this site, let's say our homepage is where our Cornwall solar panels, we want to rank for that basically, or solar panels in the southwest. We want to make sure that elsewhere on our site, we have internal links from other pages that have our sort of core keywords that we want to rank in there. And I'm going to say on this site, because I know it, that that's probably not the case. And we can see in our report here, if we go to internal and select the page we want to check, we can see in links in the bottom here, we can start to see the page from, for example, let's find a content page. This content page here is pointing to our home page, and the alt text or the anchor text is either non-existent or it's home, and that kind of applies all the way down. We don't have anything keyword rich for that core service page, so that's an important flag that we've got going on. So no, need more keyword rich internal links to our main service page. So that's a sort of internal linking thing. Do important category pages. Again, these would be for an e-commerce category page. No, we don't. It's not applicable to this one, but if it was a category page, we'd want it to, whether it's 5 or 10 category pages we want to make sure they're internal links with descriptive anchor text. Again, primary keywords. Now, the blog content on this site I know does have that, but our service pages don't. So I'd say yes for our blog content, but not any service pages. So there's a disconnect between our blog and our service pages on this website, basically. We need to sort of fix and improve that content structure and user flow. Do important service URL have a crawl depth greater than 2 clicks from the homepage? Again, you can use the links section in Screaming Frog, and it's going to give you pages with high crawl depth. Crawl depth is how many pages it takes to get from the homepage to this other relevant page. Now, for a big site or a big e-commerce site, you want to bring your important pages, your important category pages forward so that the crawl depth is only 1 or 2, so they can be instantly accessed by humans and crawlbots, search engines. This you can see actually crawl depth 5 for this. So it's going to take 5 links, 5 clicks, 5 jumps for a search engine spider to get to these pages, which isn't great really for our structure of our site. And it puts it what's called a link score, which is how important this is sort of rated for our site, really low. So we need to improve the internal linking of our site. Any key pages that were like, this is a really important high volume traffic page for us, we need to bring forward and link better. So our service pages don't, no, but could bring forward our most important blog topics. So the content structure of the site isn't, or the link structure of the site isn't great, the internal link structure. How many pages are not mobile friendly? So we could go into Search Console again and check our core web vitals. We can actually see the PageSpeed Insights has run again, and we can see score of 64 on mobile isn't actually bad. A lot of sites will be below 50, but we can see there's a lot of errors in here that we need to go through and fix. A bit of a tangent. I think we were talking about lazy loading images we were looking for. Lazy loading above the fold, which isn't happening on mobile and isn't happening here, but you can see there's a lot of stuff that we can go through and optimize and fix here. Although our SEO score is great, the speed at which our pages load is pretty well. Actually, saying that, it comes up with a lot of errors because we've got a pop-up in there, I think. But actually, our performance is 92. We load pretty quickly. This is pretty good for a site, to be fair. Do we have any pages that are not mobile friendly? Mobile, 0 poor URLs in this report, so happy with that. No. Do any 404 URLs have referring domains linking to them? So this is, are there any dead pages on your website that have backlinks pointing to them that from other websites that are just pointing to dead pages and you're not getting any SEO sort of link equity out of them anymore? You can check this in Ahrefs or SEMrush in the backlink profile. You can see in index pages in SEMrush, you can see all the index pages here. We've got too many requests in when it last tried to crawl this site. So that's interesting. Another crawl error on there. So all of these pages at the moment are broken pages. But we know they're live. But basically, if there are any 404 pages in here for this error, we'll discuss this 429 later. If there are any 404 errors here, you'd want to get hold of those pages and redirect them to other relevant pages, which these are all different errors in that there was too many requests all at once to crawl this site, basically. But as for 404, no, we don't have those. But if we did, we'd want to redirect them, as you can see there, to relevant pages to take advantage of that link, that external link, or that backlink that we're missing out the juice on. Do the pages with the most traffic link to other important URLs? Homepage does. To be honest, we don't have a lot of traffic on this site anymore at the moment. You can see if you were to say pages with the most traffic, we could go into performance on Search Console, click pages, and this is clicks over the last 16 months, but over the last 28 days, we're getting no traffic. So it's kind of a redundant question, but you'd want to make sure that your page is performing really well in search results and SEO, are pointing to other important pages, because kind of firstly to push users through your website, secondly a rising tide lifts all ships. Basically, it's a great signal for Google to link those together. Do internal links have descriptive anchor text which describes what the target URL is about? Yes, they do. If you were to read any of this blog, you'd probably, let's go, how do we find categories on here? Again, this site needs a lot of work categorically and layout and things, but you'd see here, washing machines will peak at this. That's an internal link. That's not an internal link. Yeah, how long a converter can run. We could extend that, but you can see I know that the internal linking has been done with keyword rich stuff on this site. So yes, we do have that. If you've just got like read now, click here, see more, then Google takes relevance from the words in the text of a link, the anchor text. So if you want to keep telling Google what a page is about, you want to make sure your internal links have your keywords written in them to give relevance to Google. It gives it a hint as to what a page is about every time it reads that link. Do internal links have a rel equals no follow attribute? No, we don't have that. You can see here in our links, here we've actually got no relationship tags in our links there. Our years, month, dates used in subfolders. So no, when we've got our subfolders on our site, so /categories /inverter, for example, there's no dates in there or times, which is really important. We don't have them in any of our URL slugs. You can go through and look at all your URLs. But if you have dates in there, it immediately dates a URL to a particular year or month. So you feel like next year that's going to be an outdated URL. You have to change the URL and you're losing, or you're having to create more redirects, and it just creates a mess. Just don't put dates in your URLs so they don't sort of feel like they're expiring when a reader uses them. It's just unnecessary mess. Do ranking URLs have rich results? We can see I think you can see this in Search Console. We can see these items are eligible for Google search as rich results. So yes, we are eligible for Google Search Console's rich results, which is pulling extra stuff out into the search, extra rich data and clickable things in the search. Do FAQ page have rich results have internal links? I don't have an FAQ page. But can FAQ or how-to rich results be adding to existing ranking URLs? Yes. We've just seen only one page has an FAQ section in it. So we could add this schema markup to our blogs. So we could systematically go through all our blog content and add schema markup or structured data which basically for an FAQ area would be like question and answer and written into defined tags in code so that Google can pull those out into search results and get exact question answers rather than trying to work it out from sort of unstructured content and text, basically. Right. Other technical and SEO UX things to jump into. Does the site load via HTTPS protocol? That's a security thing. If you don't have it, it's going to hurt your site ranking because it's not a trustworthy, secure site. Yes, it did. Do you remember we checked the HTTP to HTTPS redirect and that worked? Does the website have a staging environment? No, we don't have one. If it does, you need to check if the staging environment has been indexed by Google. You should be able to see that in Google Search Console. No, it's not. It would probably be under a subdomain or just have a completely duplicate site. So I've seen one before that the client had a staging environment and the developer left it indexable, and Google was indexing both sites. Both were appearing in search results, obviously because it's producing duplicate content and completely duplicate websites. No, our staging environment is not indexable. If you've got one, double check that, please, or get your developer to. Are there any internal links pointing to the staging site? No. Again, check through your website through Screaming Frog, looking at those internal links to make sure that links within your content are not pointing back to your staging site. You don't want users ending up there. You don't want Google trying to index that site. Our staging environments have password protection. Not applicable, but they should do. Are there plugins that have not been updated? So WordPress is a bit of a pain in the ass because it needs updating and managing a lot of the time. So we can see here there are plugins, and there is one that needs updating. So we can quickly update that now, actually. So we'll just say no, but a lot of sites you'll go on and there's like, crap, none of this has been updated for ages, so it's all out of date. It's a security issue and a performance issue. Make sure it is. Is the theme up to date? Yes, our themes are up to date. Otherwise, we'd get a. Maybe not actually. Okay, our active theme is. The other ones, sort of the child themes that come pre-installed on WordPress, aren't. I'm going to update them just as a security protocol anyway. Is their version of WordPress up to date? Again, people get lazy. They don't update their WordPresses. On the dashboard, you should start to be able to see site health at a glance if it was out of date. Or I think is there an update section? Sorry, yeah, updates here. You can see that Generate Press Premium needs an update, and that has been updated. Go to WordPress updates page. Current version, last checks. So we're currently kept up to date automatically. So yes, our WordPress version is up to date. Does running a crawl on the site cause browsing on the website to become significantly slower? So you can check this when you're crawling the site with Screaming Frog or something. Does the site run any slower? Does it call an XX status code? Not that I'm aware of. We can check this. I could get like SEMrush to just crawl the site again. The 388 pages that are on there. So that's crawling now. We could go and say, like, is it slowing us down? Any maintenance going on there? Nope, it's running fine. So that's all good. Is there an SEO plugin installed? Yes. What plugin is used? We are using Yoast. As we saw, we know that because we just used it, but it might be Rank Math or any of all these sort of ones. How many plugins are installed? This is just general housekeeping to go through to make sure everything's nicely up to date. How many plugins installed is a good one, because if you've got there's a few here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 or something. Nothing too heavy in there, though, little bits and bobs. But if you've got 50 of them running, actually the live ones were less than 10 probably, you could go and start install for this, actually, we don't need some of these. Actually, WordFence should be activated. We don't need some of these, or if we don't need any, we should be getting rid of them. The more plugins you have, they're just going to weigh a site down, make it slow, security issues, technical errors. So just get rid of as many plugins as you can. Are there any images over 750 kilobytes? We can look at that in Screaming Frog again. There should be an images section here, and we can see the size of images. The biggest size here is 612. So no, again, that would be something that would flag, and you'd be like, okay, we've got loads of big images over. There we go. The next one's over a megabyte. If that was the case, you're right. We've got a lot of big images. We need to downsize these images, compress them down. which is various, you can use plugins for that. You can do it manually, do it how you want, but it needs to be fixed. Do internal links, use absolute or relative URLs. So absolute versus relative URLs. Okay, so if we go to the website and we go and find, again, we can go page source for this. You can use Screaming Frog to start looking at this, but this is a quick way to tell what the general setup on your site is. And if you click Command or Control F again, and then open bracket and an A, we can then go down and find an internal link. Or we could actually say, let's go https:// Solar Company. We can see in here that our paths are in this menu, for example, are absolute, in that you've got the full address there of the page, rather than if it was just href equals /blog, that would be a relative. It would almost like assume, we know it's internal link for cornwallsolarcompany.com. These are absolute links through our site. We could go and find a few more. You can see down here the content ones as well, that we're using the absolute URL, which is preferable. It's better for SEO to have the absolute than relative. It just gives complete clear picture to Google, basically, rather than relying on just the relative. You're getting the full link in there, basically. Okay, next section, meta and structured data, things to check. Pages contain title elements. So important title element is the title that shows on Google, basically. And we can go into Screaming Frog, we can click page titles, and we can see like they're all there and there are none missing, and we can get a few more errors in there or whatever, but they've all got title tags, basically. Yes, tag titles are unique. Yes, we just checked that. There were no duplicates in Screaming Frog that it found there. Unique meta descriptions. Again, we can go Screaming Frog and we can click meta description. We've got all, we've got missing, duplicate. So they've all got unique meta descriptions. Favicon is this little let's get rid of some of these things. In here, this little thing here in our browser is the favicon. That is defined as well. Good branding. Are alt tags written and optimized properly? Again, we could go to images and missing alt text. So we've got 19 images missing alt text, and that's not good because we want to make sure that we've got them all written properly. We could even go in and see like alternate text, Ford Mustang. Presumably that's a picture of a Ford Mustang. I mean, I know this site. I know that they're mostly written pretty good, but it might be worth checking. 19 missing alt tags, exact tags more widely during a content audit, because that would probably be the next thing on the site. Like if there's no technical errors holding back, like let's look at the content and work out why we're being penalized. But I'm pretty happy with most of the. I know that those would be, but I know that most of those alt tags are fine, but you can go and check them if you want to go get a closer look. Is there structured data markup and is it valid? So you could use a tool called Schema Validator. Schema Validator, which I use a lot, and this is going to tell you whether your structured data and schema markup is valid. Now, you can do this across various pages, or we probably wouldn't do it across all our pages, but you want to check your main service pages and your most important blog post to make sure that it's all happy and relevant. So for this page, you can go into Schema Markup Validator and have a look to see what's being rendered. Yes, we've got local business schema that's running fine there. Could look a bit closer if you wanted to. It is valid and it is running on that page. You could go and check more pages if you wanted. Are URLs friendly, short, and easy to share? Yes, they are. Are URLs optimized for your target keywords? Yes, they are. Again, you can go through Screaming Frog and have a look at the URLs and if they've got your keywords and if they're optimized. We know they are from this. We've seen this all the way through. PageSpeed Insights and homepage and landing page. So we did have a list of things that were coming out on our PageSpeed Insights. Do you remember? So basically, we've got our mobile things coming up. So we might just take a screenshot of those mobile errors and say like performance 79. What was it first? Mobile was performance 79. And we could add a list of errors in there if we wanted. I don't know why the image. Anyway, usually I would fill that out with those details or attach an image to that so I know what I've got to work on, or I could just run the test again. But actually what I wanted to get in there was performance 79, which is pretty good for mobile actually. Performance 92. Some errors to tidy. I'd probably add in all those errors if I was doing this officially, and so that we could put them in a list of tasks. Basically, we could take all these tasks and say, these fix, or give them to a developer to say we want to try and tidy up as much of this as possible. But it's not hugely issue full on a site like this. Notes and other things to check. We could go and just go through our Screaming Frog report. Internal link is broken. Okay, we've got an internal link broken on SEMrush to go and check and fix. What else are we flagging in here? There's only one error mainly on here. Oh, one page 4xx error. That's why that internal link is broken. So I think that page got deleted a while back. Uncompressed JavaScript. Okay, low text to HTML ratio. Disagree with that. I disagree with that one. There's plenty of text. Maybe there's just a lot being rendered on the pages, but that was stuff that was coming out in PageSpeed Insights here. A lot of these issues. Low word counts. Those are all my paginated pages. That's fine. 36 pages didn't have meta descriptions. Again, paginated pages, not too bothered by those at the moment. External links are broken. So links out of my site from certain pages. 10 external links broken on SEMrush report. So again, we could go tidy all these things up. All these little things, maybe if we tidy everything up, we might see a better return on our traffic. We've got all sorts of things here. So I'd go through this and pick out anything that was of an issue. Again, we can see that crawl depth, 71 URLs with a permanent redirect, which are all these blog paginated pages. I don't think that's a particular massive issue. And we could also look at the Screaming Frog report as well and just look at what issues is it pulling out. Again, like alt text missing, some image sizes a bit, but all pretty low priority stuff. I don't know why we're not getting high priority at the top for this. So there we go. Directive no follow. Privacy policy is got no follow links and no index links everywhere, which we might want to tidy up. But overall, that's going to take you through a really in-depth SEO report. We can see here all these errors on the side. We've got some 301s. We've got some weird stuff going on with the server connectivity. We saw in SEMrush as well that it couldn't crawl its pages a lot. So that's something to look at and trying to work out, is this an issue with our host that actually it's not always delivering our site as we want, and we need to fix that, and that might be a reason that we've been slapped in Google search. Next thing as well, trying to get all this tidied up and make sure that that's all clean and tidy, and looking at a content and a brand audit and seeing is there any other reason that we're really struggling now, or is there a serious sort of element of off-page or on-page content that we're missing, or links or things like that. It's been a big one, this one. That's your full technical audit tutorial for your SEO audits. And go out and have fun. Sometimes there's nothing better than sitting down with a cup of coffee and going through a nice chunky SEO audit.